Welcome to the Just Josh podcast.
Who the fuck is this guy? Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
This whole thing's a little weird.
Never you fear, laddie buck.
Meager Kings, what's going on?
What's up?
What up?
What's up, Russ? Chris? Been a while, guys.
Yeah, it has been. Last time we saw you we were at your house.
You know what's so funny? That was another story I was going to bring up. The one time you guys, so I guess that was the Ballyhoo show, and you guys were recording some music with the guys, right?
Oh yeah.
And I had no idea that you guys were in town. So Chris comes up to me at the show, and I might have blown you off like completely, kind of like, because I just didn't put two and two together, like because you guys are in Ohio, and I was like, wait, why are they here? Like, there's no way that's him. And then as soon as I walked away, I was like, oh my God, that was Chris. I went back and I was like, what are you guys doing here? Was that some of the music? Was that some of the stuff that you're releasing now that you were working on with them?
Yeah, it totally is, dude. Totally is. That's exactly what we're releasing. Everything that we've released off of Meager Kings was done in that time period that we were all out there doing that thing, and ran into you.
Yeah, and then you guys ended up staying the night. That was a lot of fun. I always have a good time with you guys, and
it was great. You actually helped us out quite a bit that night. I think, Russ, we didn't really have a place to go. I think we were like talking about driving back all the way.
Yeah, we were either gonna drive back or I was gonna force you to sleep in the car, which is horrible. And because I'm that kind of guy that'll do that. Yeah, man, it was a good save. I remember the great big breakfast in the morning too. Totally like bellied up in the morning. Was it biscuits and gravy? I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I think we probably had some biscuits and gravy and stuff like that. Yeah, if a guest ever stays or if bands come in town, I always try and take care of them, give them at least, a warm meal or something like that if possible.
For the longest time, I thought we were in Ohio there. That's how the kind of night that I had that night.
Oh,
I woke up and I never realized that we weren't in Ohio.
I said for that fact. I mean, we were. I'm trying to think of what show that was. I think wasn't that the show that was like right in your guys' backyard, right there in somewhere in Maryland? It was didn't Brandon play that night too?
Was it
Annapolis?
Yeah, it was Ballyhoo, and I forget what it's called, but it just closed down, unfortunately.
Oh wow!
Because of COVID, yeah. Now they have other locations that I think they kept open, but that specific one, it was that Irish bar, and I'm totally blanking on the name, so I feel bad.
Yeah, I don't remember it either, but I remember they had just redone that place.
Yeah.
When we had gotten in there, like they had just redone the whole building for shows and stuff like that.
Right. They updated the sound system. They changed the stage up a little bit and stuff. Nice. Yeah, that kind of sucks that now.
Oh, you know what, too? That's actually the first. That's how we. Obviously, we've had a long history with Brandon Hardesty from Bumpin' Uglies, but that was the night that we actually talked about bringing him onto one of those shows, I think.
Oh, for your tour de Vore?
Mm-hmm. Because he had popped out on
in Baltimore.
Yeah, he ended up popping out with us after that.
So, since they're speaking about that, you guys run Dirty Wax Entertainment, and you guys do a lot of tours. The acoustic tours are really cool. You get you have Jason DeVore, Howie. You've had multiple artists on there. Talk a little bit about how that kind of came about, and even some of the struggles, because it's not easy putting together a tour. I don't think a lot of people realize, even maybe a smaller tour like that, how much goes into it.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, there's quite a bit on the functionality side that for a small tour like that, there's quite a bit that goes into that. Russ and I have a lot of discussions and a lot of, obviously with every tour you're pre-planning.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes with, in the beginning when Russ and I were doing these tours, we didn't get much pre-planning because we were trying to, run and gun. So getting a lot of the artists that we got, that we have obtained to work with was a great product of what Russ and I had spoke about with doing these La Tour de Vores. So leading into that, I'll let Russ take that. because he was very involved with speaking with Jason about the very first one and the ideas to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was it was kind of obviously we've been fans. Jason's a brother, my brother-in-law, and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was talking to Chris about, because Chris was a big Authority Zero fan. He had a big cool connection with Jason back in New York, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, like way back in the day, like probably
back in the day sort of stuff.
Like 2002, 2003, somewhere around there.
And we were kicking around ideas of how to get on the road and who to get on the road with, and we were talking about, we hadn't quite put together Meager Kings as a band yet. So, at that point, Meager Kings was, hadn't really even come to full ideas. And so we were trying to get on and doing acoustic tours, and I just happened to talk to Jason, which I had bugged him for a decade or more, to be like, yo, bro, I'm really trying to at this music thing. Like one of these days, like, we'll have to go on tour. And finally, he says, well, what do you think about, actually, I guess I bugged him once again at a Christmas dinner. It was like something like that. And so what do you really think about doing this? And he's like, oh yeah, we'll do it sometime. I was like, no, seriously, like give me 3 weeks and we'll figure this thing out. And he was like, all right, I'll give you 3 weeks. And eventually he came back with a schedule, and it was like 6 weeks from go time or something like that.
Wow.
Wasn't it, Chris?
I was like, it probably wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't.
I don't even know
that
if it
much
was
time.
maybe 6 weeks out from the first show that we ended up booking out on the first La Tour de Bore, which came all the way down the East Coast and into Florida. And hit. Did that one hit Indiana?
That's the one. That's the one we went back to Ohio with.
Yeah. So, but it kind of took off on the ideas that we wanted to share stages with other artists and artists that had notable names and things to maybe help us grow our fan base and stuff. And that's exactly what we did, and it really helped out. And I'm trying to remember who all was on that first tour. Was it just Jason and us?
It was it was you, Jason,
and then we were picking
myself.
up local artists that were connected in with Jason at each stop. So we would, we had basically a featured act and a headlining act, and then we were picking up the locals to kind of start the shows off for us and stuff. And lo and behold, man, it was actually Baltimore's Tin Roof.
I came to that show.
Did you?
I think so, but maybe I'm thinking of the second time because Howie was there with Jason. So was that the second tour?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think it was because Howie came in on a couple of stops there. Was that then, or maybe it was the second tour when Howie came through? It's hard for me to remember because now we've done 5 of these things.
I know. It's grown so much, man. You guys really have taken that to something that can be an annual thing.
Oh, we really have, and actually we've done it multiple times in a year too, because we're covering different parts of the United States, and we'll do legs of it, and give it a whole theme and all that sort of stuff. But Jason was down to do it. We put it all together, and then his artist buddies and our artist buddies, everybody starts talking and seeing that it was a whole lot of fun and it was lucrative. But there's a lot, like get back to your point on the work involved and all that. Email after email, phone call after phone call. Let's talk about guarantees. Let's talk about taking that guarantee away. And I don't know if we really want to do it on a Sunday now, and all kind of like all the stuff that comes at you. And at the whole time, you've made financial promises to the artists involved. You got to cover the finances on a van. We rented the vans and stuff, and like just the overall, like we really did. We talked about touring, and Chris has a lot of experience with other bands he worked with and touring and things, and had a lot of knowledge in that zone. And I had knowledge in like more of the bar show touring, or like kind of venue kind of touring, where you just go out and you'd sit in Siesta Key for 2 weeks and play the same spot. It wasn't necessarily going 200 miles every single day to some other place, and so all that work definitely was extremely overwhelming, and we hadn't really planned on it. We planned on the ideas of it, and then Jason was like, well, this is my only window in this entire year. You get these 3 weeks to make something happen. And we tried to make as much as we could have happen there. And, I forget, we covered like 3,800 miles or something crazy.
I mean, we're pretty, we've been pretty successful as far as routing and shows are concerned. So, granted, we're not out there making $1 million, but we're also, first off, we're doing what we love. Second off, everybody's working pretty hard to keep a balance. So it's worked out great. So, picking up those shows and running through the gauntlet. I mean, we're doing almost the first tour alone. I remember we did almost 12 to 12 to 15 shows in a matter of 2 weeks.
I think it was 11 shows in 12 days.
That's crazy.
That might have been another one, but I know we did like 12.
It's hard for me to keep them all together.
Yeah, I know we did like 12 or 13 shows regardless in the first tour. So I mean, with the time frames of the tours that we do with the Tour de Vore, like it's jam packed. It's nonstop. So I mean, we're definitely day to day to day to day to day, and and that's for the sake of being on the road and touring. Obviously, we don't ever want to take a day off because, for one, we don't want to waste anybody's time. But two, keeping everybody constantly busy every day on those tours is a main importance for us to keep, true to obviously working every day, but also it's great to be able to keep practicing and being able to work every day like that. So quite a bit about it. You definitely know quite a bit about it with running with the Ballyhoo boys.
It's kind of a running joke that they are like the tour college, because a lot of people that are in the industry that have done sound or merch or TM, whatever, have gone through Ballyhoo and then worked their way up and gone with other bands. So, I try not to talk about Ballyhoo too much on here because I would talk about them all the time. But I can never say enough how much those guys.
I'll agree with you.
Done,
like they are a good strong leader base to all of us Indians that are out here, shooting arrows. So, with that being said, it's like, you got to run and gun when the times are right and when things are going well. So you just got to keep putting the work in. So work's justified to everybody by being seen. So when the work is good and everybody's on balance and working well together as a team, it's, all that stuff works well for everybody. So I pay focus to that when I see that kind of development for all of us. And I mean all of us as in like the other bands that have gotten, justifiable help from, the leaders out there in the pack, bringing everybody up. So it is very fortunate, to be involved like that. So
I was pretty good about knowing the business, but just as a manager too, being able to go on the tour side of things and live the life, I think gives me a whole different perspective than another manager that maybe never went on tour or has never had to do the grind.
New world of things. I agree with you there. Completely agree with you. It really is just a whole other world that people don't understand, even when it comes to managers, and because talking to people that are trying to manage music and whatever your level, I just think some people need to understand what their level is, like how far they're along into it. Because you get local music managers and bookers and all that, and then you have the national guys and international guys, and there's a whole other world when it comes to touring. A touring manager is not the same as your business manager. They can be the same person, but they're two different jobs.
Oh yeah, I just think sometimes managers, maybe they're too focused on the bottom line and they don't see all the other things. So me going through and then seeing, oh man, this is a grind. This is going to be a grind schedule. Now, sometimes you got to do the grind schedule. It's just how it works out. It's how it, you can book the different shows. I was talking to Snacks from Red Gold Green, came on earlier this season, and he told me, we've had people offered to come on the tour for free or do whatever, but then it comes back to like personnel. Like, do we really want to be on the road with this guy for like 3 weeks?
Right.
It can be such a different thing.
He's willing to do it for free because
you just never, like you said.
Right, exactly.
You just never know. I mean, going back to the Tour de Vore, that's a really strong reason why our stuff started getting better. Working with Jason and Krista Mix and Howi, particularly Howi, definitely, bringing him back up. He's really helped us, get a direction on conversations, get a direction on what exactly needs to be laid out. And the main point of what needs to be laid out is definitely something to pay focus on, because if you miss one of those things, you want to make everybody happy. So having that extra, that extra help in the brain on that stuff really is efficient. It really helps out a lot. So it's like, yes, that's going back to it. That's why those tours got a lot better. That's why the tours got stronger. We started getting the extra, identified thought and opinions towards, hey, do it this way, make this better. And like I said, if it wasn't for those guys and or paying minds to it, I don't know if we would ever have stepped over the hurdle. You know what I mean? So being able to catch that box and jump in the hurdle and taking the identified, opinion and help, really, that's how those tours got a lot stronger, because those guys paid minds to
Not only have they helped you a lot as far as advice and just being great mentors, they also do a lot and help with your band, Meager Kings. And you guys have, is Mind Over Matter, is that the newest single that you guys have out?
Actually, we're Apathy Nation. We just released that one.
Okay.
And that one has done better than any of the other singles so far. Apathy's, I didn't look at the numbers, but we're like over 9,000, almost to 10K on streams on Apathy.
Wow.
Yeah, Apathy right now is at like 9,136 streams.
That's great.
Which has been done now within a matter of 9 days.
Congratulations.
That's
Thanks,
appreciate that.
Yeah, and I don't actually, I feel bad now because I don't think I've actually heard this one. I did hear Mind Over Matter and the other ones. Can we play a couple seconds of this and put it out there for the people?
Apathy Nation, we can't feel a thing. Story of a time on display and showing signs of hell to pay. I'm another burnout on a judgment day. But goddamn, I'm happy that I woke up next to you. Although we found a poor excuse to play a game of fools versus fools. What kind of hurricane is this? A feeling of dealing with darkness, and I wake up so depressed.
For me, dude, this brings it back to like the Clash and like, old school punk, some of the European punk, and just the great music where it wasn't necessarily always about the most production or the most whatever. It's about the feel and the sound. And you got Nick and Donald on here. I really feel like you couldn't have gotten a better duo to kind of add to the bass and the drums and stuff.
I definitely say that we got very fortunate when we produced this first album with Howi and Donald and all, and the camp from Ballyhoo. We got very fortunate, which obviously that stemmed from our work with Howi on La Tour de Vor 3, building into 4 and 5 as we moved along. So being able to take that from that perspective and then going into the studio and being able to start working with Russ on the acoustic side of it, and then it just obviously it started building into what it had become. So having Donald and obviously Nick alone was a godsend. It really developed the music into, because like I said, we spent a couple of years trying to develop this first album, and it didn't come out the first time around like Russ and I was expecting the sound to be. So I wanted to take the next step up for him and myself and try to really get it into somebody's hands that was going to turn it into that rock, that punk rock sound, that style of what Russ and I are used to listening to growing up. So there's a lot of odes in there to a lot of 80s and 90s like punk bands, and even modern punk, and not even just punk. You got the pop rock in there, you got the pop punk in there, you got the post rock, and then you got a lot of like there's guitar riffs in there and stuff that take you back to like styles of like the early 90s, like when grunge was still around. So being able to keep it simple and not so detailed has been something that has worked out for Russ and I so far with the music, because it is about the feel. Russ writes a lot of feel good lyrics, and so the music, between what he does on his personal Russ Baum craft with the acoustic to what he does and with what him and I do in the derivative of the full band, being able to keep the styles of what we like into the genres of that music and keeping it simple is definitely a mainstay for what Russ and I are throwing out there to the people.
Yeah, I mean that's I obviously thanks for the compliments, Chris. I appreciate what you're saying there about songwriting. Yeah, I mean it's pretty wild. I mean, Meager Kings was just really because this was our, you didn't mention this, but it was our third attempt to create this album.
Wow.
Kind of being the final attempt, and each attempt took over a year. To get from beginning to concept to, we had completed this entire album in about like a 15 month period with a different producer, and we had brought it on tour with us on La Tour de Vor 3, and we were feeling it. We thought, and we still like the music, and we still feel the music, but it wasn't quite where we needed. And that's actually how the conversation came about, because we played it in the tour van like 4 a.m. in the morning. Everybody's asleep. Howie's up front, and I think Chris threw it on and was like, here's our music. Like, what do you think? I don't know if we're quite there yet with it. And Howie heard it, and he's like, let me have this. He's like, I really like this, but we need to make it different and better than what you guys got. You guys got something good here. And that really initiated that whole conversation. And once again, another Ballyhoo University moment of all that, you know.
Right.
So but man, and we got in the studio and we had a few artists, like a few drummers, a few bass players that we were getting along with and knew, and we were trying to have kind of a thrown together band that at this point was just going to still be just bomb in the band, you know. And then once we got out to Baltimore and started really developing, and all of our musicians actually ended up falling through for one reason or another. And Howie was like, well, we're here. I'll call Donald and Nick, see if they're in, and they were in, and that was it, you know. I feel bad we didn't reach out to Scott.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or Howie laid down some keyboards in Mind Over Matter, and
Right.
you know, it was like, you know, we're missing one piece. You know.
Did you guys also get JR on some of your songs?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, we did.
So we got
Which was
OG.
that was pretty cool too, because he was actually the first one that came into the studio, and we kind of brought him back out of the we brought him out of the woodwork, brought him out of the closet, brought him back out to, you know, dust the dustiness off his fingers, and he enjoyed it. We loved it. He did great, and he went in there and laid down, I think, what did he do, 2 or 3 of those songs?
Holy Ghost, and I think Deja Vu, maybe.
There was one more, I think.
And then it was Cannonball.
Yep.
He is the reason I got into Ballyhoo. I mean, he is an incredible bass player. I mean, there really isn't anyone better. And I think Nick was telling me that for a while he was playing drums for a band. And I'm like, and he was like, dude, does this band know that you're an amazing bass player? You know, too. He's just so talented and such a sweetheart. And really, I miss seeing him, you know, around as much. But you know.
Yeah, you know, it was really great being able to get him out and get him and Nick, you know, in on this project together as, you know, bass players. We tried to work with a couple of different guys to find the parts for it, and, you know, it just always kind of fell through. So we're very fortunate and happy that, you know, this worked out great. And, you know, getting them on those tunes, their style of music really helped us build what we were aiming for.
Yeah, you got like JR, who can pretty much play a lot of different styles, and you got Nick, who's just great at the punk and he can also. I mean, they're both just incredible bass players. Nick sits there and practices all day, every day, whereas you get a lot of musicians that won't take the time to do that. You know. Switching gears a little bit, because I don't get to talk about this much, but I think I assume that you guys are. You guys Browns fans? You guys Ohio fans? You guys big football fans?
You got this guy right here from Ohio.
Yeah, I'm a Colts guy.
I'm guy?
in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Colts well, I guess this kind of sucks now because I don't want to bum one of you out. Did the Colts make it in to the playoffs now, or
you know what?
No, because of the Browns.
I thought they did.
Yeah, so
they had to win. They had to win this last weekend. I'm not. I can't remember if they ended up winning or not.
They played the Bills, didn't they?
Yeah, they won. They ended up winning.
Did they beat the Bills?
I believe they won.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
this
check
shows what kind of fan I am.
I'm gonna check it real quick because hopefully.
I believe they won that game because the Browns ended up winning this last weekend too. But unfortunately, now we have to go back and play Pittsburgh.
You are
this weekend. Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, so now both of you, okay, we can talk about this because the Colts made the playoffs and the Cleveland Browns made the playoffs. So congratulations to you both.
Finally.
Yeah, and I'm a big Ravens fan, obviously. So there's been a lot of controversy, not controversy, but there's a good rivalry going now. I really think the Browns, now that they're kind of at the same level going forward, we can have like that kind of Pittsburgh Ravens rivalry that we've never had, you know?
Oh, for sure. Like I said, I watched Baltimore too. I mean, like, Baltimore was a killer team this year. Like I said, I had Lamar Jackson on my fantasy team. I said he had his ups and downs. Unfortunately, I had to play Aaron Rodgers sometimes over him. But no, yeah, you're right though. I'm like, between Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and the Browns now you got a 3-triangle clash going on into this next like playoff round. For us, it's going to be crazy because this whole week's like Ohio had a big week this week, so it was like, you know, you had the Buckeyes win their game. Now, hopefully, we win the national championship there, and the Browns got into the playoffs, which is the first time in a very long time.
And to be honest with you, they have a very, very good chance of beating the Steelers, because I feel like the Steelers have been slowly going downhill and losing a lot of games, and the Browns have slowly been picking up pace and kind of hitting their stride. So, and then
I agree. Like the Steelers, like Ben Roethlisberger and their whole core, their last 3 or 4 games have been pretty difficult for them. So. Going with the Browns, their running back core has been unbelievably ridiculous. So it didn't help us 2 weeks ago that we lost our whole wide receiver core to COVID. But then, obviously Jarvis got back this week and took it to the house. So yeah, man, hopefully we end up pulling it out, because like I said, it's an exciting thing for Ohio, because now we finally got some shit up in that fucking playoffs.
Now it's so funny because
dog pound.
I feel like it's so funny because I think these 3 teams, the Colts, the Browns, and the Ravens, are connected more than people realize. So back in the day, obviously the Baltimore Colts and Irsay and stuff, they literally didn't tell anyone, up and left in the middle of the night, which is crazy. Like,
dirty move.
Such a dirty move. But it's funny how there's different perspectives, because Baltimore obviously got upset because we thought we got done dirty, which we did, and a lot of it had to do with like DC and Washington not wanting us to have a team either, because it takes away from the Redskins and stuff like that. So they wanted to be the regional team. So not only did we get our team taken away in the middle of the night, we didn't get another team for over 10 years. Now, then they brought the Browns from the Browns.
Yeah, I was gonna say until the Browns decided to take out and go back to your backyard.
Yeah,
That's
so then
weird.
the Browns went through the same thing the Ravens went through by us taking their team. Yeah, but here's the difference I always say to Browns fans, just from my perspective, and this is just my perspective. I know Art Modell did want to try to stay. He did everything he tried to stay, but then when it wasn't working out, like, you either blow your business and go broke, or you move. So I kind of understand, whereas Irsay just didn't give a fuck. He was like, fuck Baltimore. We hate Baltimore. Let's get out. I know Art did want to stay, and you guys were lucky that you got to keep all your records, the name, and stuff like that. Even if there was a legal battle over it, you still got to keep it, and Art was more than happy. So you get to keep. So we didn't get to keep any of our shit. Like, the Baltimore Colts records are now Indianapolis Colts records. So I thought it was funny that it happened to us, and then it happened to the Cleveland Browns. And so I do feel for Browns fans, because I know the feeling. I know exactly what you went through and how hard it was. But then you guys also got to keep your records, and you got a new team within like 5 or 6 years or something like that, like pretty quickly. But,
yeah, it was a long 5 years. It was a long 5 years, though.
No, I bet. And like you said, Ohio is such a big sports state, like football.
I'm like, when you think about it football wise, I mean, we have 2 football teams here in the state of Ohio. We got the Bengals and we got the Browns, and we got, collegiate wise, a lot of great college teams that are situated in the state. So yeah, I'm like, but 20 years later, now we're back. Now they're back.
Isn't that crazy how everything kind of comes full circle, and the Browns are back, the Ravens are doing well, the Colts are doing well.
Colts are doing all right. They've been going all right for a while, really.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, Phillip Rivers is a beast, man.
Dude, he's one of my favorite players ever. I love him.
I don't know what juice he drinks, but I swear, we're working off a turf toe or whatever for the last 6 games is just insane. That guy has gotten better as literally this season has gone on.
I just love how, like, he never cusses, but yet he's so animated and he talks so much shit, but never cusses. It's so crazy how he can talk so much shit to people. And just
it's funny if you could just sit there and watch some of his recorded videos where he's just like yelling. It's like sometimes you don't even know what he's saying.
Back in the day, a lot of people these days kind of give Adam Sandler some shit, because he kind of plays the same character in a a lot of his movies. He always has that like kind of a thing. I just saw something. Yeah, I just saw something where they're in works to start production for Billy Madison 2. Now, I'm super excited because I thought it was one of his best movies ever. And then 2, I feel like they're just going to ruin it. They're just going to ruin. Like, if Chris Farley can't be in the second one, I don't even want to see it.
Well, they'll probably use his brother then at that point. But for the sake of bringing that movie back, like, man, that's been a long. That movie was made in what, the late '90s, early '90s.
I was gonna say maybe even early '90s, maybe even like '94 or something like that, '95.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably around there. I'm trying to remember. Good old Billy Madison.
I'm like, what would the storyline be now?
Damn,
1995.
Wow, so it was 95. You're talking about a good 25 years from then. So it's like, so 25 years later, would Billy Madison have a family?
Yeah, like what is going? Is his kid going to be the new Billy Madison? Like, where does the story pick up? Like,
it's like they're all just hanging out at the pool still and just drink beers.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy.
I had to throw that in there real quick.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. And then him going, "That is correct," and like Chris Farley taking off his shirt and stuff.
So I said there's a lot of good movies and like remakes coming back out again too. So
there really is. What did I just see? I feel like I just saw something that was a remake that actually turned out to be pretty good.
Maybe that movie Witches, because I just saw that on TV, or that movie just came out.
That might have been
movie Witches. You remember that movie from back in like, I don't remember when that movie
that was a
first
long
made,
time
but
ago.
it was like the early '90s or something like that. But the witches that turned all the little kids into mice. They would eat chocolate.
Yes.
Yes, so they just remade that movie and just put it back out with like, I can't remember who the actress is in it, but should check it out. It's kind of creepy for a new children's modern movie.
It's weird. Some of the cartoons that I used to watch on Nickelodeon, other things like Ren and Stimpy, or just even like different things, how like you could like cartoons these days, you could never play them. It's too like people are too PC. So like if like you'll get cancel cultured if you know, like a lot of the comedy stuff I used to watch, you could never play that on TV anymore. You know,
it'd be great if they re-released Ren and Stimpy.
Oh,
that'd be gnarly. Just think of the education the children would get from Ren Hoke.
you know another show that's coming back out to Disney Plus? Do you remember Dinosaurs, Not the Mama?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, not the mama. It's coming back. So I'm super excited for that too. That used to scare me too. That used to be a scary kind of show. I don't know why when I was younger. Yeah.
I always thought that one was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I always thought that was pretty fun. I've been watching The Community lately.
Yes.
I've been binging The Community. Like I never saw it, and then we had to do a quarantine in December, and like 10 days in quarantine, and I was sitting there looking at Netflix, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, goodness sakes, what? And I just couldn't decide on anything, so I was like, oh, I don't think I'd ever even heard of it, and I was like, I'm just gonna hit play on this thing, and that shit's hilarious. Like that's like one of my favorite shows. Like the whole family's into it now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever watched that, but that shit's funny, man.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and I'll watch some that I wasn't into when that like Community and stuff. I didn't watch it while I was on. I've seen episodes here and there, but now, like you said, I've gone back and binged it, and then you realize how many different comedians or other people are in different shows that you didn't realize that are like bigger stars now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Pretty wild. But it was a good show, man. I'm just like literally still watching it, I'm like season 4 now.
Oh yeah. How many seasons? Probably like 7 or 8 seasons, right?
I don't really know, honestly. I don't remember what we were looking at. I think it was like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Okay. Hey, while we're on entertainment news, have you guys been watching the Cobra Kai?
My old man was just sitting in here watching it, and I walked in on him 2 or 3 nights ago, and he looks over at me, he goes, "You really need to watch this." He's like, "This is really good." And I looked over at the TV screen trying to figure out what he was talking about, and I saw Danny LaRussa, and I was like, he's watching Cobra Kai.
Oh, man, it's like perfectly cheesy.
Yes.
It's like perfectly like they're obviously not taking it serious, but it's like almost serious enough to take it serious.
Yes.
Well, it's funny. They've over this weekend they had literally just played Karate Kid 1 and 2. So I just watched Karate Kid Part 1 and 2 this weekend.
Yeah, that was not a coincidence, sir.
Yes.
Not a coincidence.
That's how they get us. That's how they get
bastard.
us.
Remember Karate
had to
Kid?
get
Yeah, well,
Miyagi's son, Daniel's son.
Did the Chinese guy, did he die?
Yeah,
so he couldn't be in it, because I guarantee they would have had him, right?
Yeah, they dedicated like in the first episode. They did a dedication out to him. I think it was in the first episode.
Man, Mr. Miyagi, wax on,
He's
wax
still
off.
a major part of the show, though.
He is.
Still there.
He's the big part. And had another show I've been getting into because of COVID and stuff. Have you watched Doom Patrol?
No, I haven't seen that one.
If you haven't, go watch it. I'm telling. So it's basically DC, and it's a DC show. It has Brendan Fraser in it. Has Matt Boomer in it. And it's basically, if you've ever seen like the Flash and stuff, they have Cyborg, the guy with the dad works, the black guy with the
Yeah.
So he's in that show. They have someone else playing him, not the guy from the CW shows, but they have another guy, and he's kind of like the leader. And basically, it's a bunch of misfits. Like it's like all the the ones that have superpowers, but they're horrible superheroes. You know,
They're like bad,
yeah,
like, horrible powers, like pointless powers.
Yeah, like the one, she's called the Beekeeper, but her superpower is that she turns into this blob. Like she's really worthless. Like I don't think she ever really saves anyone. They have another one who has like 64 split personalities, and each personality has their own superpower. So
that's pretty rad.
Yeah, so like they'll be in the middle of a fight, and then another personality will take over and like run away because they're scared. They're like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" They'll run away and like totally leave them hanging. So it's a great show, really well written. It's so if you get a chance, watch some of that stuff.
Yeah, and I said on COVID time for myself, I think I've been doing a lot of video game playing. So for everybody that's out there in the real world, I know Russ started up with a group of people playing like Call of Duty and Modern Warfare, stuff like that. I thought about starting up a Twitch page where I was because I'm on video games. Russ knows this. Sometimes I'm playing these video games from like, I'll start at 9 p.m. Sometimes I'm not off these things till like 6 in the morning.
Jeez.
Just because you get bored, and over COVID time, it's like, you know, you get your work done, what are you going to do? Then you start linking in with people and start conversating with them I met a lot of good people over this COVID time frames playing video games. So
have you linked up with Nick?
You know what? I thought about it. I hadn't yet. I noticed that Donald and them put their tags out there for the PlayStation. And I thought about jumping in and sending them a shout and seeing about, you know, joining in on a group and starting stuff up with that, you know, Call of Duty. I play a lot of Assassin's Creed and stuff like that right now. So trying to get into more of these group games through cross compatibilities, because a lot of people don't have PlayStation, so most people have Xboxes too. But I've noticed that, and I think it's a super cool idea that more people start getting more involved with these group session video game plays, because it's like, if you really want to connect in, if any of these guys, like say Russ, myself, or even Donald, Sake, and Nick, always putting out their tag names, it's like, man, I'd take advantage of that, because for one, you're playing, two, it's fun, and three, man, if you have a headset, you're on there just talking to everybody. So so I've done a lot of that over COVID. It's kept the monotony down, but also we've met a lot of good people.
So New Year's, Happy New Year's to you guys. I keep forgetting because I'm not a big New Year's guy.
As well.
Yeah.
Man.
Do you guys have any New Year's resolutions in general, or is that something you think? I don't personally necessarily do resolutions, because to me the new year, new me thing is kind of silly, you know. But at the same time, I think it is good to kind of reset to a degree and start the new year off fresh. Russ, I know you're doing a new running kind of a thing to raise money.
There's a kind of a funny story that comes in with this one. Like a lot of people, I'm walking 100 miles in January to help raise like money for cancer research. So the American Cancer Society donations I'm taking to do that. But the whole thing of how it came about. Now I really do love to do charitable things, and I really like it's one of my biggest goals in life is to be like a good philanthropist. Like, you know,
Same.
it's like always it has been for a long time. So anytime I get a chance to help out, I'll help out, and sometimes I'll commit to things. And you know, I always, if I'm going to commit, I'm going to get into it and do it. But this one right here is kind of funny because I got sent kind of an invite to commit to it, and I didn't commit to it. I actually was like, I want to think about this before I say, yes, I'm going to walk 100 miles in January. I don't know if I'm in shape for this. I don't know if it's the greatest idea. I don't know if I'm going to find time, and blah, 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 excuse, right? But I had filled out some of the paperwork to it or whatever, digital paperwork, and it automatically launched on my Facebook page without me committing to it. So, and I didn't think, I was like, well, maybe this isn't a big deal. I'll just delete it. But before I could delete it, there was $100 raised, and it was shared out by the fan base. And like, oh, look at Russ, he's such a great guy. He's gonna walk 100 miles in January. And I was like, oh Jesus. I was like, yep, I am. And so it's like one of those kind of accidents. But I know that it would be good. It's gonna be good for me as like to get me in a habit of being physically active every day. Now that I don't have like the shows. The shows we stay pretty active. I'll work up a pretty damn good sweat at a show.
Oh yeah.
So I needed that motivation. So like now it's like put the pressure on. So without a doubt, I'm gonna reach the goal. I'm only 3 days into my work right now, and I'm like about 12 miles in.
That's great.
Out of the 100. So getting at, I was just walking this morning. Whenever before we started this show, I'd put like 3.5 miles in this morning. So like but it's good. At first their first goal was $200. I reached that goal before I took my first step, and then now I got another $500 goal, and we're just about at the $500 mark now. I think I'm about $100 behind on the $500 mark. But we're gonna keep keep doing that thing, keep walking, and tribute to my friends and family and other people's friends and family who have been fighting this war against cancer, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, is really just to be like, well, this is the very least I could do, and I want to stay healthy.
Like I said, that whole thing that he's doing with the Cancer Society, I mean, that's all of us got to pay minds and stay healthy through it all. So if you go back to Mind Over Matter, and Russ knows where I'm going out with this, goes into his cancer stuff and the whole Cancer Society as well. And it goes to you as well, Josh. So, much love, and keep your mom and your pops above the water mentally and strongly. And this, I'm going to throw a big shout out to our boy Brian out there too, Brian Schwartz. Hang in there, man, because he's also another one that has dealt and is dealing with this whole cancer thing. And I say it enough because, if you look at Mind Over Matter, the music video that we just released, and that is the latest release that did go out over October into November. So, the biggest thing, you look through Mind Over Matter, my mom plays a part in that video for a particular reason. It pays homage back to her, but also pays homage to the people that are out here fighting cancer, because unfortunately my mom lost her battle back in September of 2019, and she was a strong advocate for us, myself, the band, the music, for everybody that would come around, anybody who played a part in the music scene around us. She was taking care of them. The biggest thing is you got to keep a positive mind, a strong heart, and the will to just know that every day is, every day can be the last, but every day can also be a new day. So when you look at that music video, that pays homage back to not just her, but everybody who is dealing with this particular disease. And, and like I said, in the picture of her is of her when she was battling, her cancer through the last month or two before she passed away. So fortunately enough, I'm glad, very fortunate that we were able to put that picture out, not in just kudos for her, but in kudos for every woman, man, child, anybody who's out there. You just keep fighting and keep a positive mind. The mind is a stronger piece than the whole human body. So it's just fight the fight, keep a smile, and try to keep the spirit as best as you can. So I throw that back to you, Josh, back to your parents. So keep them in that ball game and keep them,
for sure,
keep that spirit strong to them. But yeah, like I said, that you just got to stay healthy these days. You can go outside, step on a nail, and go get you could have to go get a tetanus shot. You never know. So
yep. Yeah, so I think that's great, and I will send over that donation after the show. So I guess we'll go into a little bit of a lighter topic too. I don't know. So I'm going to start a blog on this on the channel too, just to get, maybe it might not be episodes, but maybe at least it'll be like 5 to 10 minute clips of different things I'm doing. And something that's been coming up recently is guys have been taking, instead of doing steroids, they're taking sex drugs, which apparently helps them in the gym. And have you guys ever thought about taking a sex drug to help you in the gym?
Yeah, I know, not
sex drugs or anything, honestly.
Yeah.
I've got enough libido the way it is, man.
Yeah. And what's weird to me is like, okay, well, I get the premise of getting the blood flow and stuff like that, and that's what kind of gives you the energy. I get the kind of premise of it. But like, what if I don't know. If I took one of those and went in an hour later and I'm running next to a hot chick, like, am I gonna pop a boner? Like, I just don't know. So I just think it's like the weirdest thing to take.
It doesn't matter who you're running next to. You might be sending the wrong signal. It might be Chris running next to you.
Yeah.
You're like really passionate about that boner that you have because you're really sweating it out. And Chris is like, I knew it, and I like this, so I'm gonna make the move. I'm gonna reach over. I'm gonna grab Josh's butt. I'm gonna see where it's gonna go. And that's how I imagine you guys and Jim.
It's
after
like
Josh has had
my thought process of all this though is why are dudes or lady whatever, why are guys eating these pills and going and working out? Like what?
It's like so what weird.
Is
I didn't even know that was a thing until right now.
Dude, it's
it kind of makes me. That's like similar.
I might have myself a hard walk later if you know what I'm talking.
Yeah.
Hey Russ, would that be similar? Is that similar to like taking the belt to your throat and like jerking yourself off and blacking out
for it?
Yeah,
asphyxiation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get the whole grace. It's funny. Like you can't say anything sexual about a woman without getting cancel cultured, but it's okay for women to like sexualize men all the time and like talk about their bulges and the gray sweatpants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird how that works.
That's the world we live in.
I always tell Russ about his tight jeans.
Yeah.
Yep, he likes them.
Yeah,
he likes them a lot.
Well, I'm not the one standing in front of you, so I don't know what's being. I don't know what's
take some boner pills now, so that Chris and I can.
You guys should definitely play on stage like that.
I'll look over to my left and be like, dude, put it away, bro. And he'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, I'll smile and just like playing.
This helps us play better. We got to take those sex drugs.
Right.
We'll wrap this up because I know you got to go pick up your kid from school and stuff like that. But I got a couple more things here. I'm not a big fan of those YouTube. Like everyone and their mom now is a public figure or some, pro. Everyone's a pro at something, even though they're not. Like they got 30,000 followers, and suddenly they're a professional. But I was watching a clip came up with the Paul brothers, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, and I think they're big douchebags. But I don't hate though. I'm not hating on them because they make millions of dollars and they're so good at trolling. They're the kings of trolling to get attention and to make people watch their stuff. So I got so much respect from that. But he recently went and spent $250,000 and was able to get one of those Charizard Pokemon cards from like a collector. And it was one of the most expensive ones ever.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about.
Did you see that? And so
I got an opinion, not to him to that, but I got an opinion to these like card collectors and shit out here. So go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was gonna say, do you guys have anything from your childhood that might be worth something? Like I went down and I have some Nintendo games, and I have like a lot of. I don't have Pokemon. I was too old for Pokemon, but I did get into Magic cards, and apparently Magic cards still have some value.
Oh yeah.
So
it's interesting that you just brought all this up. So COVID time for me. This is what I've also been doing on COVID time, and Russ knows this. So I spent a lot of time from March to now going and buying like comic books and these Funko Pops and all these even baseball cards and Garbage Pail Kid cards, all that stuff, right? And so over the time frames of the last 6 months, and I get a heated debate about this because I got a couple of friends who are in the card business, like baseball cards and stuff. You can't go out here in the real world and even buy a pack of cards at any store right now. So this goes back to guys like Jake Paul and stuff like that, and even like Mark Wahlberg and their family and stuff like that. And just, I'm not calling people out or anything, but yeah, a lot of people got the money, but they're also going out here buying these high-end cards, and then they're like putting them on social media like, hey, check this out. I just bought this. It's like, man, so you got all these people who actually like to, I'm not saying they don't like to collect cards or anything, but there's people out there that appreciate going out and buying a pack of cards, whatever, regardless of what it is. And the people that have the money buy out Panini and stuff like that immediately. So there's nothing left for anybody to go out and buy any cards. So it's like, okay, cool. It's cool that you bought that $250,000 Pokemon card, but it'd be even cooler if somebody had found it, or somebody. Right. My whole main point is it's the collector's edition of what's going on now. Everything is high sought. You can't even walk into a Walmart or anything to go buy a GI Joe toy because that's the people are going in and buying all of that stuff up, then taking it back on social whatever, and selling it for like 20 times more than what anything is worth. It's been insane. So I've seen a lot of that lately. So Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Garbage Pail Kid cards, any Panini Top Sports card. You can't go into a store and buy any of these things right now.
Your point of the whole, like, back in the day, was you would go buy the pack and then you would get lucky if you found one, and that's how you would get it. Now everyone's just spending top dollar to just go buy that one card, and it kind of loses the fun of it, or the purpose of collecting and being a collector.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. That's funny. I never thought about that. That's a great point.
It's been getting rough. Like I said, this whole collectors thing with everybody right now, even like, even things that are coming up. So, those Tops, the Tops cards that are being made for the bands and stuff like that.
Right. I saw that. Yeah.
Even at some point in time, I'm going to be honest to God, those Tops cards down the line, those are going to be worth something. So getting your hands on those will probably be like, whoever's making them, keep making them, because those are going to become you know what I mean? They're going to become something that everybody's going to, be sought for. Yeah. So
do you guys have anything that might be valuable left over from a kid, or is it all ruined? Like, all my shit's probably not gradable, like, even if I had a good card.
Well, you have Nintendo. I was going to say, you have Nintendo games though too. You can go and get those graded.
Yeah, they're pretty dusty though. I don't even know if they work. They've been sitting in a box downstairs for like 30 years or whatever.
When it comes to things from my childhood, I don't really have anything that's like worth value wise. Like, I pretty much got rid of all of my baseball cards and all that kind of stuff. But I do have a My Pet Monster. And if you know what a My Pet Monster is, it's like a random kind of like stuffed animal monster thing that was really big back in the 80s. And that's probably like the one iconic thing that I have.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm sure that's not worth any money. You know what I mean? Right now it like guards Taylor's door, so ghosts don't sneak in his room.
That's cute.
I'm like, for my sake, I would just have to say any X-Men Marvel toy that you could have possibly have owned back between 88 and or 92. I still have a few of those, along with a couple of G.I. Joe toys, loose figured toys from like the early 80s. So
I know I have like an old school Wolverine or X-Men, stuff like that for sure. So last thing, because I do like to talk, it's my favorite thing to talk about. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I definitely love history. I definitely believe there were ancient civilizations and other things out there that we as humans still don't grasp, that might be more advanced. Like, they might not have had computers, but they still had different tech that was more advanced than what we had, or whatever the case is. But I thought this was interesting that the Pentagon officially launched a new task force to investigate. So they used to have the Blue Book group or whatever, or the 12 that back in the 80s or whenever, that got together and did this, and then they quote unquote disbanded it. But what I find interesting is that even though there probably has been that going on behind the scenes, they're actually now making a force public. Like, there's actually a public group that is sent to discover that. The fact that we've gotten this far, and over the last 4 years, there have been, the Pentagon releasing the videos, Tom DeLonge being right the whole time, and, actually having legit connections within the government to kind of bring this out into the open. How long do you think it's going to be till they just tell us? They're just like, okay, there is a galactic federation, and unfortunately, right now, we're not at the place that they feel we're worthy to be in it, because we're so small-minded and so consumed with ourselves, until the humans actually reach a place of enlightenment and figure it out that, the world is much bigger than just social media and stuff. Yeah. When do you think I think it's coming soon. I think within the next 10 years, they're going to pretty much tell us everything they know.
Yeah, I would say it's coming soon.
In my opinion of that, I would think that even if there are like some advanced life forms out there and they're doing their thing, I would think that maybe this is just me being an arrogant human being, but I would think that they wouldn't be perfect animals, and there's a good chance that they probably would have slipped and been seen by now by somebody that's not getting like brain erased by a government person that knows that they saw something. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. My mom is really into into all that and believes into that very heavily, and like my stepdad and stuff, and they follow a lot of the governments, and that's my stepdad was talking earlier this year whenever he's like, oh, there's and just talking about just like you're talking about where they're coming out and saying a little bit more about it. To me, like I think that we've really dreamed up something that we can't believe really, in the as in like whatever if there's another life form out there or whatever, chances are like we've not even thought about what that would actually look like. You know
it
what
could
I
just
mean?
be like an amoeba.
In our minds, we've kind of humanoided them. We've put them on like 2 arms and 2 legs and a big bubble head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it's hard telling. You know, how do we know? Maybe snails are aliens.
I mean, if you think about all the different galaxies, it wouldn't be that far-fetched to think that there might even be other people that look just like us, because they probably have the same properties on that planet, you know?
Absolutely.
I will say, you know, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but, you know, I had a moment in time where we were, you know, I don't tell the story much, but I don't know if you have... Yeah, you know, like if you ever say of anything unexplained, I'm like, man, I saw some crazy shit one time. It was like 2 in the afternoon. I'm not even bullshitting.
Yeah.
And I was with like 2 or 3 different guys in my car, and I had to stop my car and get out of the car, and literally all of us got out of the car. And this is back in like the late 90s when, like, you know, phones didn't have fucking cameras on them, you know what I mean? So I wish at the time I would have been able to just been like, what is this? But man, I looked up in the sky, dude, and I saw this thing. It was literally just, it looked like a square. It literally looked like a ship. I'm not bullshitting. I could see it. And it was like a square triangle looking thing. And it just sat in the horizon, and it just sat there for a second. Right. But I never saw, like I said, dude, I never watched something move so quick in my life than I watched this thing move. I'm not even talking like watching it move through the sky. It went from like one point and then showed up here, but you could still see that it was a ship. Like you could literally see, it wasn't like a flying saucer that everybody was talking about or anything like that. It was literally like a triangle looking like ship in the sky, just floating there. I like I said, to this day, I don't tell the story, but I saw that stuff at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, plain as day. So, you know, I believe that there's definitely things out there. So
at least more advanced tech that we don't know about, you know, at the least, you know, if it might not be aliens running around in ships, but we definitely have something out there. Well, listen, I know you got to go pick up your kid and stuff like that. And time is precious, but I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. I had a blast catching up with you. You're one of my favorite people. I always support good people. And, you know, with this podcast, I don't try to get the biggest guests I want to get my friends out there. I want to get good people out there. And you guys have always been one of my favorites. So I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
Oh, yeah,
same to you as well, man. Definitely same to you. We're definitely going to have to see you sooner than later and get together. And finally, when the world brings us back through, we can parlay one of these.
Yeah. Well, you know, you always have a place to stay anytime you're in town. We can do a podcast in person, but I have a feeling 2021 is going to be big for a lot of us. A lot of the people that have been grinding and putting in the time over the last couple of years. So best to you guys, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks,
yeah, most definitely, man.
Best to you too.
Much love.
Thanks.